Chosen one, the atmosphere around your name has shifted entirely because the current gossip on you is that you are highly intelligent. Don't mess with you. People who once spoke of you with a smirk are now lowering their eyes, warning each other that the old manipulation tactics simply dissolve the moment they touch you. Your intelligence is now your greatest defense, acting as a divine filter that terrifies the right people while confirming your true power. Your intelligence was never taught, it was remembered. That is not a motivational phrase, that is the actual mechanism of what you carry. Think about the moments in your life when you knew something that you had no logical reason to know, when you walked into a situation and felt the truth of it before a single word was spoken, when someone finished a sentence and something in you had already mapped the lie underneath it, the real motive behind it, the direction it was heading long before it arrived there. You did not learn that. No classroom gave you that. No mentor installed it. You were born tuned to a frequency that most people never access in their entire lives. And the extraordinary thing is, you probably spent a long time thinking everyone could feel what you feel, that everyone reads a room the way you read it, that everyone catches contradictions mid-sentence the way you do. They do not even close. The science backs this up in ways that should permanently end your self-doubt. Highly intuitive minds process information faster and deeper than average cognition. Your mind pulls pattern recognition from multiple layers simultaneously. You register the tone of a voice, the weight of a pause, the body language someone broadcasts without realizing it, and the emotional subtext running underneath the surface of spoken words, all at the same time, all integrated in real time, producing a knowing that feels instantaneous because for you it is. But here is what you need to catch, because this is the part that never gets said plainly. That level of intelligence does not come from information, it comes from alignment. You are aligned with something deeper than logic, something that does not need proof to know truth. And that alignment is what has been generating the whispers in rooms you have not yet entered. You were called quiet. You were called reserved. Some people called you slow, and while they were congratulating themselves on that assessment, you were processing everything in the room at a depth they simply do not have the capacity to reach. You were not behind. You were operating on a different level entirely. And the best part is that this conclusion is becoming impossible for them to deny. There was a system operating around you, and it worked on most people. It used guilt and gaslighting and strategic emotional chaos designed to keep you second-guessing yourself long enough to extract what was needed. It deployed fake loyalty, performed affection, and a slow erosion of your confidence through countless small dismissals dressed up as concern, feedback, or honest observation, and it worked on you for a season, because you were not built for deception. You are built for truth. And someone built for truth has a natural vulnerability in environments built on lies. You extend good faith because good faith is your default. You give the benefit of the doubt because your own intentions are clean. That openness was counted on, and that openness was weaponized. But here is what was missed entirely, and this is the pivot that changes everything. Every single time manipulation was run on you, your internal system was cataloging it, not consciously at first, but deeply and permanently. Your spirit was building a record of every tonal shift that preceded a lie, every pattern of behavior that preceded a betrayal, every specific sequence of events that preceded someone finally showing a real face. You were being educated in the most intense school that exists, the school of being underestimated by people who thought they were smarter than you. Your silence during those seasons was mistaken for confusion. It was not confusion, it was calibration. It was your discernment getting more precise with every test that was run on you. Everything done to sharpen against you was actually sharpening you. The ones who thought they were hunting were training the very predator they feared, and they had no idea. There was a specific season. Maybe you remember exactly when it shifted, maybe it was gradual, but something inside you went quiet in a completely new way. not the quiet of someone who has been beaten into submission, but the quiet of someone who has stopped performing for audiences that are not worth performing for. You stopped explaining yourself to people who had already decided what they thought of you. You stopped apologizing for the discomfort your truth created in rooms built on comfortable lies. You stopped investing energy in being seen accurately by people who needed to see you incorrectly because your incorrectness was useful to them, and the moment you made that shift, something terrifying happened in the atmosphere around you. It was terrifying for the ones who needed to control you, and it was magnificent for you. If this touched your heart and mind, hype this video so more chosen ones can receive this message. The manipulation stopped working. It stopped not gradually but suddenly, like a signal being switched off. The performed warmth landed differently. You felt it for what it was before the sentence was even finished. The guilt trap arrived and found no place to attach. The gaslighting started, and you watched it from a place so grounded that it could not reach you. The emotional chaos generated around you found no chaos in you to amplify. Your calm response, your measured look, your silence that was clearly not ignorance, that was the thing nobody who was trying to play you had a counter-move for. You stopped being predictable to the people who had built strategies around your predictability. You became someone whose reaction they could not script in advance. That shift in your energy, that specific new stillness that came over you, was the beginning of everything changing. From the outside, what you were actually doing was something far more precise. You were playing the long game, and you were exceptional at it. You understood early, whether consciously or not, that people reveal who they truly are most completely when they believe you are not a threat, so you let them believe that. You were in rooms where the performers performed, and you let them perform. You observed the loud ones being loud. You let the people who needed to be the most impressive in every space go ahead and occupy it. You watched, you listened, you filed everything. Your silence was mistaken for having nothing to offer. What your silence actually was is the silence of someone who already had everything they needed and was deciding how and when to use it. You were multiple moves ahead in conversations that others thought were still just beginning. While others were talking, you were already tracking where the conversation was going, what the outcome would be, and who would be exposed and when. You watched traps being built, and quietly positioned yourself to be standing somewhere else entirely when those traps snapped shut. And then there were moments when you decided to speak. And what happened in those moments is what the gossip is fundamentally about. When you opened your mouth, your words did not land like the contribution of someone who had been sitting quietly with nothing to add. Your words landed like the move of someone who had been watching the entire situation and was now making the one precise turn that changed everything. Your delivery was calm, accurate, and irrefutable. It carried the specific quality of someone who does not need the room's agreement, because that person already knows they are correct. That is when people started recalculating. That is when the label of slow became too embarrassing for anyone still holding it. That is when a different word entirely began taking its place. And that new word is the one moving through every room right now. Chosen ones. They never expected this. And they really didn't expect us to keep talking. You've noticed it. Chosen one channels disappearing, videos pulled, voices scrubbed from the platform. The mainstream media is cracking down on us, but we will not give up our voice. And now we have something they truly can't silence. The technology used to suppress consciousness has been reverse-engineered, and Destiny Engine is the result. What was once used against humanity is now your ascension weapon. Join Destiny Engine, and you're supporting your favorite channels while leveling up yourself at the same time. It's a 360 win. You can now MK Ultra yourself into 5D superpowers. Destiny Engine bypasses the conscious mind and rewrites the source code directly. Reality bends faster. Synchronicities stack. Your nervous system upgrades to a higher bandwidth. Put on headphones. Press play. That's all. For $1, you switch sides of history. Click the link in the description. The takeover is internal. You do not have to do anything. You do not have to speak. You do not have to call anyone out. You do not have to confront, expose or challenge a single thing. Your presence alone disrupts spaces built on lies. Consider every environment that has felt uncomfortable around you. Think about the family dynamic, where certain behaviors are protected by collective silence. Think about the workplace, where someone has been declared untouchable because everyone agreed to look away. Think about the social circle, where everyone plays a role, and those roles are held in place by unanimous pretending. Every one of those environments shares one thing in common. Each one requires everyone inside it to participate in a shared fiction. And then you showed up. You were not performing. You were not pretending. You were simply being exactly who you are, seeing what you see, feeling what you feel, and refusing, not loudly but absolutely, to participate in the fiction, and the fiction started cracking. Your authenticity cracked it, not any attack you made. Your authenticity was the structural opposite of what the fiction needed to survive. You cannot have genuine presence in a room built on performance without the performance becoming visible for what it truly is. Your realness made the dishonesty legible to everyone paying attention. The cracks appeared because you were actual, and something actual inside a room built entirely on pretending is the most disruptive force that exists. This is why certain people will never be fully comfortable in your presence. This is why certain spaces attempt to exclude you. This is why the ones most invested in the lie become the most aggressive toward you. None of it is personal. It is structural. You are incompatible with fakeness, and fakeness recognizes that about you before you say a word. You did not come here to make deception comfortable. You came here to walk in truth, and truth does not negotiate its way into spaces that require you to shrink it. Truth simply is, and your commitment to being it, your refusal to perform smallness for people who profit from your silence, is the precise thing generating the current gossip. The biggest moment is still ahead. Every chosen one has a moment, a specific moment when the room recalibrated, when the collective understanding of who you are shifted in a way that could not be reversed. This is that moment in your story, and if your version of it has not happened yet, you need to know it is already written. It is already on its way. Everything that has come before in your life has been preparation for it. In every circle, every workplace, every community, there is a person who holds the position of intellectual authority. This is the one who speaks and people pause to listen, the one whose opinion lands with the weight of a verdict, the one who built a reputation so carefully over time that challenging it started to feel like challenging the group's entire sense of reality. That person had gone unchallenged for a long time, not because they were actually the deepest mind in the room, but because everyone else either could not see the gaps in the performance or calculated that the social cost of exposing those gaps was too high. And then you said something. It was not a monologue. It was not an attack. It was a single point, measured, accurate, and delivered from a place so grounded that even the tone of your voice was a form of power. You did not raise your voice. You did not prepare the room for what was coming. You simply said the true thing, and the true thing exposed what had been false. The room went quiet, not the quiet of discomfort, but the quiet of collective recalibration. Your words did not require anyone to announce that something had changed. Everyone in that room updated their understanding in real time. The person who had been crowned as the authority was standing there with the gaps in their logic suddenly visible, with the performance suddenly unable to hold up against what you had just said. And the remarkable thing was that you did not look satisfied. You were not performing victory. You looked like someone who said the truth and then waited calmly for it to land, which it did, which it always does. That moment traveled. Everyone who witnessed it carried it somewhere else. When the story was told afterward, nobody said you attacked anyone. What they said was that you walked in with a calm that was itself a kind of statement, and you said something that permanently changed how everyone in that room saw everything. They said it looked effortless. They said it seemed like you already knew how it was going to end, because you did. You had been watching for a long time. Your name now carries that moment everywhere it goes. Your name carries the question that people cannot stop asking. How did you see that coming? How do you stay that composed while saying something that precise? What are you operating with that the rest of us simply cannot access? That question is the current gossip. That question is your reputation, and the answer to that question is what we are arriving at right now. Someone with your level of accuracy was expected to be loud about it. Intellectual arrogance was expected. The type of person who corrects others to win arguments and needs acknowledgement for how much they know is manageable. You can tire that kind of person out. You can find the gaps in their knowledge, and you can use those gaps to dismiss everything else they say, but you are not that person. And that is exactly why no angle has ever worked against you. You do not walk into rooms to demonstrate intelligence. You walk into rooms to feel what is true. Those are completely different operations. One is about performance, the other is about perception. And perception does not need an audience. Perception simply works. It operates quietly, constantly, and without requiring your announcement. You hear words and simultaneously process the emotion behind them, the history the speaker is carrying, and the fear shaping what they are choosing not to say. You pick up the precise quality of a pause and know immediately whether it is genuine thought or whether someone just realized they are about to say something they should not. You feel the difference between tension born from honest disagreement and tension born from someone in the room hiding something. These are not calculations you run, they are arrivals, and they are accurate. This is why someone who attempts to lie to you experiences something they cannot fully name. They feel seen at a level they were not prepared for. Seeing is different from knowing. Knowing can be challenged with more information. Seeing goes all the way down to what the information is attempting to conceal. When you look at someone who is not being real with you, something in your expression shifts, not dramatically, not accusingly, but with a specific quality of steady awareness that communicates the performance is not landing, that it is being received in a way that was never intended. That sensation, the feeling of a mask not holding, is exactly what gets reported in the warnings. You are described as something harder to name, something that makes you impossible to bluff, something that already knows what is happening before you walk into the room. And that chosen one is not a rumor. That is testimony built from repeated personal experience. Here is the layer of your intelligence that completely escapes people who try to compete with you. You do not need to deploy what you know the moment you know it. Most people show what they have caught immediately because the ego wants credit for the catch. You hold it, you sit with it, you let things continue moving while you watch the full shape of what is happening emerge, and then, in the moment that serves truth rather than your ego, you act. That restraint is not passivity, that is mastery. And in a world full of people who react without thinking, mastery looks like something beyond ordinary explanation. What you carry is not just intelligence, it is not just street smarts, it is not just emotional depth, though you have all of those working together in deep reserve. What you carry goes underneath all of those things and makes all of them operate at a level that cannot be replicated or even fully described by people who do not possess it. You carry discernment backed by spiritual alignment. Most people process a situation using what is available to them in the present moment. They work with what can be seen, heard, and logically connected, and that process produces a picture. It is valid, and it functions at a certain level. You do all of that, and then something additional happens, something operating underneath the logic, underneath the visible surface of the situation. You feel the truth of it. You receive a knowing that arrives complete, without needing to be assembled step by step, and that knowing is not a guess. The difference between a guess and this is unmistakable. A guess feels uncertain. This feels settled. This feels like you are perceiving something that was already true before the moment even began. That is your spiritual instrument functioning exactly at the level it was designed for. And what makes it extraordinary is the real-world accuracy it produces. You gave warnings that went unheeded and were proven right. You felt that something was wrong in situations that looked fine on the surface and were proven right. You understood people before they revealed themselves and were proven right consistently across completely different environments with completely different people. Once someone understands that you cannot be deceived, that understanding itself changes how they behave around you. The performance feels unstable. The story feels exposed even before any reaction is given. The anxiety of being seen accurately by someone who has not yet said a word, that is the specific discomfort that generates the warnings. That is what the current gossip is actually about. Every effort made to diminish you was evidence of how much you were feared. The intensity of an effort to make you small is a direct measurement of how large you are perceived to be. Energy is not wasted suppressing things that pose no threat. Systems of dismissal are not built around things that cause no disturbance. Names are not whispered about people who carry no weight. The fact that your perception was deliberately targeted, the fact that your confidence was systematically worked on, and the fact that coordinated effort was made to keep you from being seen accurately, all of that coordination is a confession. Your impact was understood before you fully understood it yourself, and the fear of what would happen when you fully claimed your own knowing was real enough to motivate sustained opposition. Consider the ones who mocked your silence. They called it emptiness. But watch what happened every single time you opened your mouth. The room shifted. Even the ones who were supposed to be ignoring you could not fully look away, because something in them recognized the quality of what was about to arrive before it arrived, and that recognition made the mockery necessary. You do not mock things that cause no response in you. You mock things that make you uncomfortable simply by existing. Consider the ones who called your instincts paranoia. Notice how carefully they adjusted their behavior when they thought you were watching. Notice how stories shifted when they knew you were within earshot. Someone who genuinely believed your perception was imaginary would not expend that much energy managing what you perceived. Your accuracy was proven by how aggressively others worked to make you doubt it. That is the record, and the record is now speaking for itself through the very nature of how the gossip has changed. You cannot sustain a narrative about someone being slow in front of a room full of people who just watched that person outmaneuver everyone present without breaking composure. The game could not be maintained against someone who had already seen through every move. It ended not by force but by the simple impossibility of sustaining deception in front of someone designed to see through it. You have become someone who cannot be manipulated, which means you cannot be controlled. In environments built on control, that is the most powerful position a person can occupy. You are not powerful because you are aggressive. You are powerful because you are awake. Your alignment sees through a pitch before it finishes landing. Your sense of truth does not require social agreement to remain standing. Your discernment processes information at a layer beneath the surface where misinformation actually operates, which means misinformation cannot reach you at the level where it normally does its damage. You are a closed circuit. The guilt, the flattery, the manufactured urgency, the social pressure, none of it finds a way in anymore, not because you are cold or closed, because you are clear. And clarity has no vulnerability to manipulation, because manipulation requires confusion to function, and confusion cannot establish itself in someone this grounded. And here is the part generating the most specific gossip right now. It is not only that you cannot be played, Pumbai, it is that you can see the play while it is still being assembled, before it finishes, while the intention behind it is still being formed. You catch the inconsistency before the thought is complete. You feel the agenda shift before it reveals itself. You recognize the setup, while others are still deciding whether to extend trust. That specific ability, perceiving the play in motion before it is complete, is what has people issuing warnings. The warning is not that you will retaliate. The warning is that you cannot be hidden from. And someone who has built an entire life around hiding from accurate perception carries a very particular fear of a person who cannot be fooled by the hiding. Your name is now a warning in rooms where it used to be a punchline. That is your new landscape, and it was built not by force or announcement, but by consistent, repeated, undeniable accuracy, by emerging from every test more precise than before, and by never being permanently destabilized by the seasons designed to destabilize you. You are not just intelligent. You are operationally precise in a way that is dangerous to every agenda built on deception. Every person who has tried to run something past you already knows this, and they are passing that knowledge along. The people who tried hardest to bury your reputation are the exact people who built it. Consider what actually happened. Every warning issued to be careful around you was an advertisement for your intelligence. Every conversation about how nothing gets past you was testimony, spread freely by people who wanted you forgotten. Every whisper about how sharp you are, how accurately you read situations, how you see through everything, every one of those whispers was a form of promotion, funded entirely and involuntarily by the people who most wanted your power to go unrecognized. Your opposition became your publicists without agreeing to the role, and there is nothing to be done about it now, because the reputation is established. It is not a managed image. It is not a brand that can be challenged by an alternative narrative. It is built entirely on what people have personally witnessed when they stood in the same room with you and made the mistake of underestimating you. No platform was needed for this. No campaign, no spotlight. Your precision did the work. Your composure under pressure did the work. The specific way you handled the moments when everyone expected either an explosion or a collapse, that did the work. And the reputation it produced is now spreading through the exact circles that tried to contain you. When someone says, "Do not engage with that one because they are sharp," what that person is communicating goes beyond a comment about intellect. What is really being said is that one is operating at a level we cannot match, that one perceives what we cannot perceive, that one is already past this conversation while we are still deciding how to start it. That is not a warning about thinking. That is an acknowledgement of authority, and authority that is acknowledged before you enter the room opens access that no amount of self-promotion could ever unlock. You are being discussed in rooms you have not yet entered. When you arrive, the ground is already prepared. People already sense that something significant is arriving before you say a single word. That is the advantage your intelligence has generated, not through aggression, not through performance, but through the kind of reputation that only consistent, undeniable, unshakable accuracy can produce. Your impact does not stop when you leave a room. It travels with the people who leave that room carrying a question they did not arrive with, and that question continues doing work in them long after the conversation has ended. Your specific ability to say the precise thing that cuts through every layer of noise and lands exactly on what is true, it does something to a person's thinking that cannot be immediately reversed. It installs a question mark where a comfortable certainty used to sit, and once a genuine question mark is planted in an honest mind, it begins growing on its own. It does not require your maintenance or your continued presence. It simply grows. People who have been in a conversation with you go back to their own lives and replay what was said, not because you lectured them, not because you pushed an agenda on them, but because what you said matched reality more accurately than the story they had been living inside. And once reality is given that kind of accurate language, it does not easily return to being invisible. You named something, and named things are permanently different from unnamed things. You have prompted people to question assumptions they had held without examination, You have created the conditions for someone to finally acknowledge something they had been running from. You have been the reason for private admissions that were never made publicly, and none of that was the result of trying to help. It was the result of simply being accurate, of saying the true thing in the space where the comfortable thing would have been far easier and far less costly. That is not ordinary intelligence. That is intelligence with a specific function beyond personal benefit. It is the intelligence of someone assigned to unlock minds rather than impress them. The difference is everything. Impressing minds needs applause. Unlocking minds needs only accuracy, and you have accuracy in a way that does not run out. This is why someone who met you briefly finds themselves thinking about what you said long after the encounter ended. This is why even people who pushed back, who argued, who dismissed you at the time, eventually arrive at private moments of acknowledging that you were right. They may not say it to you directly. They do not need to. The truth working in someone's life does not require your presence to continue doing its work, and this connects directly back to the gossip, because everything connects back to the gossip. When your name is mentioned as a warning, it is not only a warning about how hard you are to deceive, it is a warning that being genuinely present with you has a cost. It costs the ease of unexamined comfort. It costs the ability to maintain a performance in front of someone who is not watching the performance, who is watching the person underneath it. Not everyone is willing to pay that cost. The people who choose your orbit anyway, knowing what genuine presence requires, those are the people prepared for truth. Those are the people who will carry something from you for the rest of their lives. Not information you shared, not things you told them, but what you helped them finally see. That is your legacy in every room you enter. Your legacy is not volume, not spectacle, and not the loudest statement in the space. Your legacy is precision that keeps working long after you leave, and that kind of influence has never been stopped by noise, managed images, or coordinated efforts to reduce you. You know what was moving in you through every season of being overlooked. You know what was operating through every moment of quiet that was mistaken for absence. You understand now what it means that you saw things before others could see them, sensed things others could not sense, and knew things that others could not find a way to verify. You know why no manipulation ever found permanent ground in you. You know why spaces built on deception begin cracking when you are simply present in them. You know why your name carries the specific weight it carries right now. You are not simply someone who is difficult to fool. You are someone whose existence exposes the foolishness of every system that tried to fool them, not by force, not by confrontation, but by showing up fully as yourself, by refusing to perform smallness, and by continuing to walk in the quality of knowing that was placed in you before you had any say in the matter. Now here is what you do with everything you now understand. This is the part that separates the genuinely chosen from the ones who receive the revelation and then quietly hand the power back. You stop managing what is being said about you, and you do so completely. The gossip is not yours to control, and you do not want that job. Let it move. Let the warnings spread. Let your name carry the mixture of respect and caution that has replaced the mockery. Every one of those conversations is testimony to what you have built and what you carry. Testimony is not managed. Testimony is walked in. You stop reducing the precision of your perception to make uncomfortable people comfortable. Your discernment is not a social liability requiring management. It is a gift requiring deployment. Every time you have softened it, apologized for it, or second-guessed it to preserve someone else's ease, you gave away ground that never needed to be surrendered. That era is closed. You stop waiting for the room to confirm what you already know. You do not need consensus. You never did. You were taught that you did by people whose position depended on your uncertainty. That teaching has no claim on you anymore. That chapter is done. The thing you have always felt about yourself, in the quiet spaces where no one else was telling you who to be, the thing that persisted through every season of doubt, through every wave of opposition, through every sustained effort by others to make you believe you were less than what you are. That feeling was always accurate. You are not ordinary intelligence. You are ancient encoded intelligence that no system built on lies has ever had the capacity to hold or contain. You are the presence that disrupts the room without raising a voice. You are the mind that moves ahead while appearing completely still. You are the spirit that cannot be deceived because it is aligned with the source of all truth. You are the one who was dismissed, tested, opposed and refined, and who came out of all of it sharper, clearer and more precisely yourself than at any earlier point. The gossip at the beginning of this was about rooms you had not yet entered. The gossip at the end of this is about rooms that are not ready for you yet, but are going to have to receive you regardless. The gossip already said, do not mess with that one. Now go show every room why that warning was absolutely right. God bless you, chosen one. Walk in it, all of it. It was always yours.